buttercup, you're a Barbie doll. Show them all what I'm made of. Strut down the hall, won't stop till I get enough.
Welcome back, everyone, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at Liverpool's Boxing Day match against Leicester City. Sounds like it was a really exciting one. We've got a match report here from goal.com. And one thing that really stood out to me right away was they played this match in some seriously dense fog. I mean, can you imagine?
Wow, yeah. That must have been wild. You know, fog like that can really change the whole game, makes it tough to see what's happening, affects how you strategize and everything.
Right, and you got to think it impacts both teams, so maybe evens things out a bit. Who knows? But anyway, even with the fog, the first goal actually went to Leicester. Jordan Ayew got one past Liverpool pretty early in the match. Some of you might remember him from his Crystal Palace days. So what do you think? Was this a mistake on Liverpool's defense, or was it just a brilliant play by Ayew?
It's hard to say for sure without seeing it, but the report says Ayew, spun Liverpool's defense. So that sounds like some pretty fancy footwork. And good awareness to find space for a shot. It could also mean maybe Leicester had a plan to target a weak spot in Liverpool's defense.
Interesting. So they're down early, but then Cody Gakpo ties it up for Liverpool with a goal the report calls stunning, curling it in from the edge of the box. Pretty impressive.
Yeah.
What does a goal like that tell us about Gakpo and what he brings to Liverpool's attack?
Well, that kind of shot, it takes a ton of skill and control. You got to be able to bend the ball's path just right.
Okay.
But even more than just the goal itself, I'm curious about what it says about how Liverpool wants to play. Are they encouraging Gakpo to take more risks, be more aggressive in attack?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So it might be a sign of how his role will develop on the team.
Yeah.
I like that. So then right before halftime, Curtis Jones scores, putting Liverpool in the lead. The report mentions Jones turning in Alexis McAllister's cutback. What does that look like exactly?
Okay, so picture Mac Allister with the ball, moving toward the goal line. Defenders all around him. But instead of shooting, he passes the ball back across the penalty area, right into the path of Jones, who's perfectly positioned to take the shot. It's like a textbook example of teamwork. But on the other hand, how did Leicester's defense let that happen? Were they not communicating? Or did they just lose track of Jones?
Yeah, you're right. There's always more to the story than just one side. Now, speaking of needing a closer look, the report says Gakpo almost had a second goal, but it got ruled out by VAR because Darwin Núñez was offside during the play. For those who maybe aren't as familiar with football, can you explain how VAR works?
Sure. So VAR stands for Video Assistant Referee. Basically, it's a team of officials who watch replays to help the main referee make the right call, in this case. They were checking if Núñez was offside when Gakpo took his shot. Because even if Núñez didn't touch the ball, just being offside and in the way can be enough to disallow a goal.
Okay, so it's like having extra eyes on the field. So no second goal for Gakpo. But things didn't slow down there. Mohamed Salah ends up scoring his 100th Premier League goal. At Anfield, no less. That's got to be a huge moment for him.
It's massive. 100 goals in any league is impressive. But to do it in the Premier League, one of the toughest in the world, it's incredible. It puts Salah among the best goal scorers in Liverpool's history. And it's fitting that he reached that milestone at Anfield, in front of the home crowd.
Absolutely, a real highlight of the match, and maybe even a turning point in the whole season. So with this win, Liverpool moves 7 points ahead of Chelsea, who are in second place right now. What are your thoughts? Does Liverpool have a good chance of winning the Premier League title this year?
Well, 7 points is a good lead. But it's still pretty early. We've got a lot of season left to play. The Premier League is known for being unpredictable, so anything could happen.
So you're saying it's not a done deal yet?
Definitely not. I think the biggest thing for Liverpool is to keep playing well consistently, avoid any major injuries to key players, and of course, we can't forget about the other teams, especially Chelsea and Manchester City. They're both still in the running.
Right, so it's a three-way race.
Pretty much.
And remember, Liverpool also has a game in hand over Chelsea. So that could make a difference later on. We'll talk more about the title race in a bit. But first, let's go back to that fog and dive deeper into those standout performances that shaped this Boxing Day match.
Oh, yeah. That game in hand could be huge for them. But for now, let's get back to those big performances from the match, especially with that crazy fog they were playing in. The report talks about Gakpo and Salah, of course. And Jones with that game-winning goal.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing when you think about Gakpo scoring that goal in all that fog. Seems like he's really starting to find his place in Liverpool's system. Did you see anything else in his playing that shows how he'll fit in long-term?
You know what I noticed? Even though his second goal didn't count, he kept being aggressive, always looking for opportunities to score, making runs, trying to get into dangerous positions. It seems like he's getting a good feel for his teammates, how they move and where they'll be. This could be a really fun partnership to watch as the season goes on.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how that develops. And then you have Salah, reaching that incredible milestone of 100 Premier League goals in Anfield. He's definitely joining some legendary company there.
Oh, absolutely. That achievement puts him right up there with some of Liverpool's all-time greats. It shows how consistent he is, his instinct for finding the back of the net, and the impact he's had on the club. And, the way he scored that 100th goal, that classic curl into the corner, it was just pure Salah.
Yeah, a perfect way to mark such a big achievement. Now go back to that fog for a minute. I know the report doesn't give a ton of details, but it does say that it played a part in the match.
Yeah.
Can you imagine trying to play at that level, making split-second decisions with hardly any visibility?
It must have been so disorienting. Fog adds a whole other layer of uncertainty. It really messes with the flow of the game. Players can't rely on what they see as much. They have to go more on instinct and communication. It's really impressive that both teams were able to adapt so well and still put on such a good show.
Makes you wonder. If any of those goals or missed chances were because of the fog, maybe a defender couldn't see a player at a key moment, or a pass went off course because of the limited visibility.
Yeah, that's definitely possible. The fog could have created some unexpected opportunities for both sides. It's almost like it leveled the playing field, adding a random element that you don't usually see in pro football.
It definitely adds another layer to how we analyze the match. And speaking of different perspectives, it's interesting that Jordan Ayew, who scored that first goal for Leicester, used to play for Crystal Palace.
Yeah.
Do you see players switching teams often in the Premier League?
Oh, yeah. Player transfers are a huge part of professional football. It's super common for players to move between clubs. Sometimes they're looking for a new challenge or more playing time, maybe a different style of play that suits them better. Sometimes it's about personal goals, and other times it's more of a strategic decision by the clubs. Like in Ayew's case, maybe he moved to Leicester for a fresh start or a different role on the team.
So there's a lot more going on than just what happens on the field. You've got players changing teams, managers coming up with strategies, and even random stuff like fog that can impact the game.
Exactly. That's one of the things that makes football so interesting. There's so many layers to it, both on and off the pitch. It's this constant mix of skill strategy, individual talent, and, sometimes just plain luck.
Speaking of layers, we're about to explore another one. When we come back, we'll shift our focus from this specific match to Liverpool's overall chances in the Premier League title race. Stick with us. Welcome back to the Deep Dive. So we've been talking about Liverpool's Boxing Day win over Leicester City, a match that had that crazy fog. But now, let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture, the Premier League title race. As we get into the second half of the season, what are you thinking? Can Liverpool keep this up and finish at the top?
Well, like we said, 7 points is a decent lead, but there's still a long way to go. The Premier League is always full of surprises.
So you're saying it's not over yet?
Not at all. I think the biggest challenge for Liverpool will be staying consistent. They need to avoid any big slumps or losing important players to injury. And of course, we can't count out the other teams. Chelsea and Manchester City are still right there.
So it's still a three-way race then?
Yeah, pretty much. The matches between these top three teams are going to be really important. Those games usually have a big impact, not just on the points, but on the team's morale, too. Another thing to watch is how each team handles the busy winter schedule. Lots of games each week, plus maybe some cup competitions on top of that. It can be really tiring, and that's when injuries start to happen, especially in a league as physical as the Premier League.
So it's like a chess match.
Kinda.
But with way more running and tackling. All right, listeners, we've covered a lot today. From those foggy goals to tactics and Salah's amazing accomplishment. Any final thoughts for our listeners as they follow the rest of the Premier League season?
You know what I love about the Premier League is that it's a marathon, not a sprint. There will be upsets, incredible plays, and tactical battles that all come together to determine the winner. Just enjoy watching it all unfold, appreciate the little details of the game, and don't be afraid to make your own predictions about who will win the title in the end.
And don't forget, Liverpool still has that game in hand. That could really shake things up. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into Liverpool's Boxing Day victory. We hope you enjoyed exploring the match with us, learning about the players, and getting a better understanding of the Premier League title race. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.
Sound the alarm. I'm coming up. We'll have cup your puppy dog. Show them all what I'm made up. Strut down the hall, won't stop till